The member from Toronto Danforth.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question to the Premier. Last week, the Ontario Energy Board released a preliminary decision on Hydro One's transmission rate increase. The OEB gave Hydro One nearly everything it asked for, and we remain on track for a huge jump in transmission rates next year. The OEB said that these rate increases were being driven in part by executive compensation. But then it approved 96.5% of Hydro One's compensation costs. Last year, the CEO of Hydro One, the privatized Hydro One, collected 6 times the salary of the previous CEO. Wow. Does the Premier think that ratepayers should feel grateful that the OEB trimmed back this sort of executive greed by a mere 3.5%?
Thank you. Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, let me reiterate. So depending on Hydro One's draft rate order, it's estimated that the bill impact for 2017 would be an increase of 0.1%, Mr. Speaker, and 0.2% for 2018. And that said, Mr. Speaker, this, our Fair Hydro plan has lowered bills by 25% on average, and this is the single largest rate reduction in the province's history, which both opposition parties voted against, I might add, Mr. Speaker. But when it comes to executive compensation, I understand, Mr. Speaker, that people are concerned when they hear that number, but Hydro One is now a publicly traded company, and decisions over compensation are not made directly by the government. But they have become a better-run company, Mr. Speaker. That executive have found $75 million in savings. They brought forward the winter disconnection program. They ended it, Mr. Speaker. They are becoming a better-run company, and that's exactly why they have that executive in place, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Well, Speaker, taking out a huge loan to drive down rates is not a credible strategy. Speaker, the Premier promised that a privatized Hydro One would mean lower rates, not higher. Her hand-picked privatization guru said that private sector discipline would drive down costs and rates for consumers. Instead, private sector discipline means a CEO salary that is 6 times what the previous CEO earned. Private sector discipline means a huge increase in transmission rates for next year, plus another huge increase in distribution rates that Hydro One is also demanding. Will the Premier finally admit that her private sector discipline simply means more private profits for her private sector friends?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So let's be clear. Hydro One, R1 and R2 customers are seeing a 40 to 50% reduction in their bills, Mr. Speaker. And I know he doesn't like to talk about that or even look at that because he voted against it, Mr. Speaker. So on top of the 40 to 50% reduction that Hydro One, R1 and R2 customers are seeing now, Mr. Speaker, thanks to this government, let's talk about how they've become a better-run company with many other things, Mr. Speaker, that they've put in place. They've actually introduced more active customer communication, calling customers directly with issues. They're giving customer choice with billing cycles, helping them to better manage their bills. They've introduced e-billing and are working towards mobile billing. They're ending the practice of security deposits for new customers. And, of course, as I said before, Mr. Speaker, introducing a voluntary ban on winter disconnections.
Thank you. A new question.